everyone, I'm Sarah of Rich Textures Crochet and welcome. Today we're going to learn how to crochet a cloud stitch. Now this crochet stitch, when I came across it, didn't quite have a name, but I felt like it kind of looks like these little clouds that are kind of trailing across the sky here, so I've come to call it the cloud stitch. This is one stitch with a beautiful texture, kind of reminds me of an even moss stitch, but the texture is a little bit thicker. Not dense, it still has a great drape, just a little bit thicker than that even moss stitch. All the texture is to one side, so the back is fairly plain and smooth with your texture to the one side. Today for the tutorial I'm going to be using a 5mm or an H8 crochet hook. This is a Birchwood hook by Rowan Yarn. I'll also be using a worsted weight cotton. This is the Pima Cotton by Lion Brand, and there's links to these items in the description of this video. Also down there in the description you'll find a direct link to the free written instructions, which are on my website at richtexturescrochet.com. So thank you so much for joining me. While you're here, I invite you to subscribe. Take a look around. This channel is updated every single week with free crochet patterns and stitch tutorials. Now our stitch today is worked in rows, so we're going to start by making a slip knot and then by working a foundation chain. Your foundation chain today can be any even number of stitches, so just a multiple of 2. Today I'm going to go ahead and chain 20. Once you have that foundation chain worked, you're going to begin row 1 by simply working a single crochet into the second chain from your hook, and then single crochet into each stitch all the way across. At the end of row 1, you're going to chain 1 and turn your work. We're now going to begin working some of that beautiful texture. We're going to start row 2 by working a slip stitch into our first stitch. Your chain 1 does not count as a stitch, so you're working into this first single crochet, just work a slip stitch. You're then going to work a cluster stitch into your next stitch. For our cluster stitch today, we're going to yarn over, insert our hook into that next stitch, yarn over and draw up a loop. You're then going to yarn over and draw through 2 loops. 2 loops on your hook. You're going to insert your hook once again into that same stitch, yarn over, draw up a loop. With 3 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. That's how we're going to work our cluster stitch. You're then going to work a slip stitch into the next stitch. We're going to repeat this all the way across. Cluster stitch into our next stitch, and slip stitch into the next, all the way across your work. At the end of your row 2, you're going to finish off with that slip stitch into your final stitch, chain 1 and turn your work. You'll see all the texture there now on the front side of your work. For row 3, you're simply going to single crochet into the first stitch, which is your slip stitch, and then single crochet into each stitch all the way across. So you're working that single crochet into each cluster stitch and each slip stitch all the way across. Now because of the cluster stitches, your slip stitches shouldn't be too challenging to work into. Sometimes they can be a pain, but in this pattern they're really not too bad because of the cluster stitch kind of props it open a little bit there for you. So single crochet into each stitch all the way across. At the end of this row 3, you can chain 1, turn your work, and then as far as the repeats are concerned in this pattern, that is it. For the rest of the pattern, you're going to simply repeat your row 2, so that row with your cluster stitches, and your row 3, your single crochet row, for as long as you would like. Chain 1, you're always chaining 1, and turning your work, and then repeat. And once you're done, you can fasten off, weave in your ends, and enjoy. So that's how you work the cloud stitch. Thank you so much for joining me. Once again, I invite you to take a look around. Don't forget to subscribe, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Until then, happy crocheting. Bye.